Hi there, my name is Laura, and welcome to the Equestrian Skill Builders Rider Position Fix-It Show, where we discuss riding position topics and share ideas and exercises to help you and your riders. If you'd like to improve your riding and training, win more ribbons at your next horse show, or generally like other horsey-related stuff, then you are in the right place, because the exercises we're going to share with you today might very well change your riding forever in a good way. Guest hosting with me today is Patricia Jellerson. Hi, Patricia. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Where are you coming in from today?
Oklahoma, Edmond, Oklahoma, which is a suburb north of Oklahoma City. And you know Oklahoma, where the wind comes whistling through the plains. That's our state. Full of tornadoes and wind and all sorts.
Is it tornado season there now?
It's ending. It's getting ready to end. And we've been very lucky this year. There haven't been anything really bad going on. So my husband and I did stay in the bathroom one night because we don't have a storm shelter with the 3 dogs waiting for one to pass. But thank goodness it went around.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's a long time to spend.
Well, it was about a half hour, I guess, because they have the sirens that come on to let you know when one's close, and that's when you're supposed to take shelter.
Holy smokes.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Could you, Patricia, tell us a little bit about yourself and your horsey-related stuff?
Sure. I'm a large art judge, USEF large art judge, and I've been in the business ever since my late teens. So I won't tell you how old I am, but that's quite a while. And I've been lucky enough to work for some great people. Nona Garson, an Olympic rider, showed in the Sydney Olympics. Worked for her for about 10 years. We worked very closely with George Morris, who she trained with at the time. I worked for Summer in Wellington for Ann Krasinski, managing her Florida operation, and I have had great trainers and great experiences, and I love everything to do with the business, everything, especially judging. Judging is so much fun.
Yeah. It's funny, you could spend all day at a horse show and not get tired, and then come home and talk about horses, and still it's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I never get tired. I mean, 2 horse lovers sleep, eat, and breathe it, right?
Yep. Exactly right. So you might feel a little bit different today because we recorded this before Saturday, and I scheduled it to come on Saturday morning because I'm at a horse show this weekend. Not judging, I'm a steward at a horse show this weekend, so I thought we would just record it and put it on. But if you do have questions, please put it in the comments, and one of us will get to you and answer your questions as soon as we can. So please put your questions in the comments or questions wherever you have, if you have questions for us.
Absolutely.
So we do have some photos, and if you would like to have your position reviewed and have a photo, please send it to me, thistleridge@hotmail.com. And I'm going to put that up here. So if you have a question, thank you to Patricia. And if you'd like to send in your photo, please send it in to thistleridge@hotmail.com. Excellent. And me, I'm Laura Kelland-May. I'm a Equestrian Canada senior judge in hunter, jumper, equitation, and hack, and also a senior steward and a competition coach specialist, high performance trained. And we are here to help you. So if you do have any questions, we would love to hear from you. Hey,
yeah,
Patricia.
so we cover the north and the south.
Exactly. But we don't have any tornadoes up this way. Although we did have a tornado warning yesterday, actually.
Really?
That came on the phone. A warning came over the phone. It's everything. Okay, so if you have any comments, please put it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Sure.
Okay, so are you ready, Patricia, to take a look at some photos.
I am.
Okay, so let's go here. This is Haley.
Haley, huh? On her paint pony.
Haley on her paint pony, and Haley says, okay, so Haley says, turning my feet more in. I asked her, what would you like help with? She says she wants to have help turning her feet more in and keeping my hands in proper placement. And Haley says, I struggle with my overall position.
Okay.
So,
Well, her
I mean, looks like she's in a horse show.
yeah,
I think she's
yeah.
well ahead of the game because she looks great.
It's nicely turned out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Her pony, all that white, looks pretty clean. No, I think she's off to a good start for
Starting
sure.
up at their head.
Eyes up. We love that. And I think as far as hand position goes, she's got a good release. She's got a nice short crest release, but I'd like to see her elbow a little more in front of her body, you know,
Right.
her elbow a little more forward, which is going to put her hands just a hair forward, but she's kind of locked in there with her elbow next to her body. You see that?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, a little, well, the top part, the top half, the forearm, the upper arm,
This
a
part.
little straighter on that one, a little the other way, yeah, a
We
little
want her to
straighter.
be this way.
Yeah, a little bit more, just between those two
Yes,
lines.
that's too much. So this is where her elbow is here. We'd like to have
Right.
her elbow a little bit more forward.
Yes, that's perfect.
I would like to
Yes.
see her hand down here a little bit more.
Well, she'll raise her hands a little because of that, but it will
Yeah.
just open up her release a little bit so she's not tight. You know, the horse,
Yeah.
even though the reins aren't really tight and she's not pulling back on them, they can feel that
Yeah.
tension and that little bit of not having the freedom quite that they might need. So I would
Right.
like
We'd like
to
to
see
see the
her.
range just a little bit more like that.
Right. Because of the size fence and her level, I like to give the horse as much freedom as possible. And bringing that elbow forward a little is going to push her hand forward a bit, and it's also going to loosen up that whole release a little bit, her arm where it's kind of tight and tense.
Now, do you think it's her elbow that should go forward, or do you think your shoulders should go back a little bit?
A little bit of both, but I think even if her shoulders go back a little bit, her elbow's still back, but she's a little ahead for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Because again, we see her base of support over the pommel
Right.
rather than the middle of the saddle.
So you think her seat should come back here a little bit?
Should be a little lower, and if it stays a little lower, not touching the saddle, but she doesn't push forward over the pommel,
Right.
then she's not going to be ahead.
So yeah, here with her shoulders. Let's see if I can get her shoulders. So just like your shoulders back here, even
Yes.
with her seat a little lower,
Yes.
and this, and then this, and then that would.
That's a perfect hand position right there.
Oh gosh, I'm good with the drawing here.
You are
Yes.
good. You are good.
But I mean, we're not talking a big difference here. We're talking just kind of sinking down into the saddle and keeping that weight down into your heel rather than rolling. It looks like, I mean, what her comment was, I would like to turning my feet more in and keeping my hands in the proper placement. So she feels what's happening. She says she wants to keep her toes more in.
Right. Well, her leg is slipped back a little because she's jumping ahead a tad. And then when your leg slips back, it usually makes your toes turn out a little. So she's got to work on keeping that leg right underneath her as her base of support. And if she was back and a little lower in the saddle, that would be easier to do.
Right. So, and And yes, exactly. And also, it looks like she's turning her toes out and using the back of her legs instead of the inside part of her legs.
Yeah.
So, do you think her stirrups look like they're okay for the
They
length?
they they look all right to me.
Yeah.
I might go maybe a tad shorter, but um, I don't think they're bad. What do you think, Laura?
I think they're the right length,
Mhm.
but I can understand what she's saying, that her toes are out. And it's like, I mean, and I can picture what's happening is that she rolls onto the back of her calves to make her horse go
Right. Go, yeah, to keep the
forward
horse
towards
going,
the jump.
and her knee,
So
yeah, her knee kind of is falling away from the saddle a bit.
yeah,
But sometimes when riders have trouble with their legs slipping back or jumping ahead, the stirrups can be a little shorter, and that will sometimes help those problems.
yeah,
Even
and
though
I think
I had
go
a
ahead.
student the other day that her stirrup length looked great, and she kept getting a little behind as the horse was jumping. And she's a fairly new client of mine. And I said, let's try shortening those stirrups. And even though they didn't look like they were too long, it made an amazing difference.
Yeah. Because if you put the stirrups shorter, it helps to get that angle, maybe get
Mhm.
this, where is it? This hip angle a little bit more closed, to get those
Exactly.
angles a little bit. And
Yeah.
maybe it helps them push their heel more forward towards the girth, because we like to have the front of their riding boot near the girth. And you can
Right,
see
right.
here. So do you
I
think
like
she's
that.
reached
I
there?
usually like to say there's that little sweet spot underneath the saddle flap and behind the girth, that little triangle. And that's where I like to see the legs stay, right
Yeah.
behind the girth, with the middle of your calf in that place under the flap and right behind the girth.
Now, another kind of rule of thumb that we talk about when people are going over jumps and they tend to get ahead, like this rider's doing, is that if you took that horse away, where would this rider land? Would they land on their feet and in balance, or would they fall back, or would they fall ahead?
Right. She
So,
would definitely, I think, be landing on her face, poor girl, because she is ahead. And if you took the horse apart, I mean, if you took the horse from underneath her, she would be falling forward for sure.
yeah. But again, she's not interfering. She's looking up. She's
No.
focused on her next fence. She's got a great takeoff place. The horse is jumping nicely. She's staying with her horse.
Yeah,
Just
for this level, this looks like a 2 foot fence, maybe 2, 3, but I'd say 2 foot. For this level, she's doing everything right. There's nothing really wrong. Things just need to be tightened up and polished up a little bit.
okay, perfect. So what kind of exercises can we do with Haley to help her?
Lots of 2 point,
Two
lots
point,
of
two
two
point,
point,
2 point, 2 point, 2 point.
sinking down in the saddle in the 2 point. Because if
Yeah.
you try to do your 2 point like a jumping position where the highest part of your seat is at the highest point over the saddle as the horse bascules over the jump. And if you try to practice that on the flat, that's not going to cut it. You have to bend your knee and sink down in the saddle a little bit and get a more secure position. And then you'll be able to lift your seat a little bit as the horse jumps without losing all that lower leg.
So could you repeat that again? You want the riders to sit down in the saddle, and what did you say about the highest point?
Well, when the rider is out of the saddle, he's at the highest point above the saddle when the horse bascules or rounds
Okay.
over the fence.
Okay.
Because
So
so
wait a minute. I got to show this here now. So you're saying this rider, so bascule, that's the first thing we have to learn here. Bascule.
right, and this horse doesn't have too much of a bascule because the fence is so low. But when we get to the next picture, that will be illustrated a little more.
Bascule is the arc that the
The bascule is the shape that the horse takes over the highest part of the jump, and you want the wither to kind of be the highest part, and the head to be parallel or a little lower to the wither in the hunters. Yeah, a little, but the wither the highest, like, yeah, the withers definitely should be the highest point.
So you're saying so when the horse bascules at the highest part of the bascule, that's when the rider should be out of the saddle.
The most, yes.
The most. Okay.
The most.
So right here,
mm-hmm.
He hasn't really finished his bascule.
And that's another reason when the jumps are low, 2-6 or under, you really don't need to make a big move out of the saddle. You really don't, because the horse isn't using himself really, unless it's a super good jumper that cracks his back over anything. The horse, a 2-foot jump, 2-3, even 2-6 is not going to impress the horse enough to make them really rock back in front of the jump and then use their bascule over the top. So this horse is not doing it because the fence is so low. And she's riding this jump almost like it was a 3-6 fence, where she really doesn't need to. Yeah.
So it's great. So lots of 2-point. I should have kept those pictures of the trot rails and the trot rails that we talked about last week with the riders, because trot rails, set up some trot rails, go over the trot rails in your 2-point position and really practice sinking down into your stirrups and letting the weight come down into your stirrups rather than having the weight over top of the pommel of the saddle and into your knees. Think of your seat over the middle of the saddle and the weight coming into your heels and
exactly.
around
and your heel kind of lined up right under your hip.
Yes.
Heel right under your hip bone is what I like to think of when you're working on the 2-point, keeping that heel right under your hip. And lots of cantering of poles. If she can hold that nice 2-point cantering poles, then she'll be able to hold it over a jump too. But I would just say to her, over this height, don't think that you have to put any extra effort into the jump. Just holding a nice steady 2-point is going to keep you in place better. And your horse doesn't need any more than that. He really does. He needs a release and he needs a little bend closing the hip angle, but we don't have to put in quite so much effort.
Exactly. I like that. And if you have any questions, please put it in the comments or send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Where's the email here? There we go. Yes, love to hear from you, Haley. So easy corrections. You're doing a lot of things correctly.
Really good. Really good.
Just have to kind of settle in, let the weight come down and around the horse.
And practice a lot of your 2-point or half seat and do it, but test yourself when you do it. Just don't go around the ring in the half seat. Go over some poles, make some circles, try a little lengthening, a little collecting. Work your 2-point so that it's adjustable and can stay with the horse. Because a lot of people, when they're in their 2-point, it's not very adjustable, right? It just kind of locks yourself.
They're mechanical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Would you like to go on to the next one?
Sure.
Let's go. Am I showing it here? No. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Okay. So this is Addison.
Yes. And this is a lovely, lovely pony. I assume it's a pony. It looks like a
impressive, isn't he?
Yeah, very much. And you can see a nice bascule here. You can see the height of his wither and the fact that his pole up here between his ears is kind of on that same plane, which means he's dropping his head and his back hasn't flattened out, but he's got and it hasn't inverted, but he's got a nice relaxed back and just a lovely picture. Knees, of course, are beautiful, square and up towards his chin. But yeah, this horse definitely has the bascule, right?
Yeah, I agree. So Addison says Addison sometimes has a hard time keeping her elbows bent during flat work. Okay, well, they're bent there now.
Mm-hmm,
Duke.
mm-hmm,
Duke is a lovely mover, but doesn't take the best head position on the trot if she doesn't engage the bit properly.
mm-hmm,
When jumping, sometimes distance is an issue, and Duke will take a trot step right before the jump.
mm,
He's young and needs her to tell him it's okay to go. If he thinks she's unsure, he will add the step. He's great
mm-hmm.
scope. It's so frustrating when it happens.
Yeah, it is. It is. And a horse that's just a little short of step, you just have to ride so carefully. And to me, the answer to that is you've got to jump your first jump and land going forward. You can't take the time to jump the first jump, regroup, slow down a little, and then go forward. You have to land, go forward,
Okay.
and then kind of see where you are in the
Yeah.
line.
So, generally speaking, what's your first impression of this horse and rider?
Well, again, a lovely
What was
picture,
the
you know.
first thing? Well, the first word that came out of your mouth when you saw this picture?
I was kind of wowed at the horse just
Exactly. That's
jumped
what I
so
said.
cute.
Wow.
The
That's
horse just
exactly
jumped
what
so
I
cute.
said.
But the
Wow.
first thing that struck me about her that might be leading to some of this is you see how her stirrup is home on her foot. It's
Yeah.
back towards the heel. If that stirrup was right on the ball of her foot, I think she'd be able to use her leg a little better.
Now, do you have a magnifying glass there, Patricia?
No, I don't.
Because it looks like to me that this is a safety stirrup
Oh,
with the
and if it is,
elastic on
yeah,
the
the rubber
inside.
should be on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a safety stirrup, you want the rubber piece on the outside. Yeah, you're right, Laura. That does look like a safety stirrup.
But yes,
Yeah.
okay. So getting back to what you're talking about. Yeah, this is called a foot being home in the stirrup. So I guess I
Mhm.
better talk into the microphone here, eh? Yeah, so that's foot is home in the stirrup. And that means that the stirrup is right shoved up to the her
Heel.
heel, and the
Yeah.
stirrup should be right on the ball of her foot.
Right. Because when it's home like that, it's locking your ankle, and your ankle is a major shock absorber. So if your ankle's locked, what's going to happen, like happened a little bit with this girl, is her ankle's locked, so she can't sink down and stay close to the saddle. She's a little bit ahead as well. But not bad. You know, she's, like I said, this is a good jumping horse. But if she were able to relax that ankle and sink down a little bit into her lower leg, I think she would be in the right place with her.
Yep, this weight has to come down here.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it's just coming into the stirrup.
Right, right.
So let's start up at the top of her head. Now that we
Mm-hmm.
got that cleared away there. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so eyes.
Yeah, her eye, she's looking down a little bit at her horse. I would like to see her eye up a little bit,
That's a
but
minor thing though, right? I
minor
mean, it looks
thing.
like she's looking forward and it's just that maybe
Maybe the
your
hat is
head's
kind of
let
low the way it
down or
fits.
something.
But I love her expression. She's so focused, right?
Focused.
So focused and concentrating and really in the moment, I think. Love the expression.
And back flat.
Yes, nice back. Nice back. I
But
would,
this is what gets me though, Patricia. It
uh-huh.
shouldn't be parallel to the ground.
No, no. Her seat should not really be much higher than her shoulder. But again, when her seat is that far out of the saddle, it's going to make that back a straight line. But I like the straight back and the fact that she's not overarched and
Right.
she's not humping. She doesn't have a hump in her back. It's a nice flat back. She just needs to sink down in the saddle a little more, and then things will be in the right place.
Yeah. So we'd like to
There's a
get
lot
her
of air underneath
here.
in between the saddle and her body if you look in the front too.
This is a giveaway. When you can
Yeah.
see the trees, the horizon between the pommel of the saddle
Uh-huh.
and the rider, that means your seat is out of the saddle too far.
Uh-huh.
And you know what? I have to say this though, Patricia. We are getting this a split second like this, frozen
Right,
in time.
right,
And
right.
maybe this just happened to be the best time to take a picture of this pony because he's jumping so beautifully. And maybe the next frame or two in the camera, the rider was in a perfect position. So we're not
Yeah,
this
we're being super picky. We're
super picky.
being super picky. I think again, this illustrates perfectly what we're saying about the roundness of a horse and the bascule, and this would be the highest place for her seat to be over the top of the horse. But it's just because the leg is slipped back and the stirrup is home that I feel if her leg was a little more under her and her stirrup on the ball of her foot, I think it would sink her down to exactly the right place.
Yeah.
Because she's not really jumping ahead,
No.
not like the other girl. She's not really
Ex-
jumping
ex-
ahead.
Her seat is over the middle of the saddle.
Mhm,
Exactly. The seat
mhm,
is over the middle of the saddle. Perfect place. It's just too high.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Her seat just needs to be here,
yeah.
and her shoulders need to be here.
Mhm. Because on a good jumping pony like this, again, she's kind of making a little too much effort for the fence. A good jumping pony like this is gonna put you in the right place if you're relaxed and centered. It's not, you don't have to manufacture a jump when a horse jumps this good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely pony. The
Mhm.
the other the other thing, and I love the way the expression on this pony and the reins are really lovely and
Mhm.
relaxed.
Lovely
But
short
when
press release. The martingale is perfect. One of my pet peeves is too short a martingale. I
yeah,
hate to see it cranked up in there. The bridle is put on exactly right. The noseband is in just the right place, and I can tell that they really took a lot of care with this horse and this rider preparing them. Except whoever the trainer is, you need to turn those
stirrup
oh,
irons.
yeah, those
Yep.
stirrup irons around.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm. Because of the
What I was going to
safety
say.
part. Because
Sorry.
of the safety reason is if her foot comes through the stirrup, you want it to be on the outside so that rubber band will break. It won't break on the inside against the horse like it is
I
there.
don't. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. That
Mhm.
looks like
Yeah.
black there,
Mhm.
and that looks like
Yeah, that's the little horn that it fits on.
yeah.
Mhm.
So if you're watching, if you see us, it's because we're peering into our monitors. That's why.
Uh-huh.
And again,
Uh-huh.
this I would be a bit concerned about that too because there is a little pokey out thing on those stirrups, right? That
Mhm. Right, right, that
may
little bit.
even
Yeah.
poke into the side of your horse.
But we're going to talk a little later about the differences between hunter and equitation, and this would not bother me at all in a hunter class. I mean, she is
No,
staying out of the
no,
horse's way. She's given it a great release. She's very much in sync. We're being a little picky as if it were an equitation class, but this is just lovely for a hunter class. Doesn't
love
bother
it.
me at all. I don't feel like she's in any danger of losing her balance or anything like that.
Exactly. She looks very competent and looks like she's got a job to do and she's going to do it.
Hmm. Hmm. And I think what they were saying about the horse sometimes breaking before the jump, you've got to have the horse in front of your leg. And if she rides like this on the flat with that stirrup too far back and not on the ball of her foot, it's going to be hard to wrap her legs around that horse, I think, and keep him in front of her.
Yes, and so it says Duke is lovely mover, but doesn't take the best head position on the trot.
And it's all kind of related. You know, if his head is up a little at the trot, it's probably because he doesn't have enough impulsion from behind. If he's taking a trot step in front of the jump, same thing. If he's adding a stride, same thing. You know, you've got to get that horse in front of your leg a little and have a little connection there. You know, to me, if you put the horse in front of your leg and you drop the reins, all that energy just kind of shoots out the front of the horse. You know, you've got to keep a little feel, keep a lot of leg, and get that energy right where it needs to be.
So
But trot, mm-hmm,
in a pony class,
mm-hmm.
how important is it that the pony has the right head position? I mean, what I wonder what she doesn't engage the bit probably distance
She
issue.
probably in her flat classes, I'm betting the pony's
Just
head
a little
comes up
little
and
inverted.
yeah, a little inverted. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And
So Addison, if you have any pictures of you on the flat, send us a picture on the flat. You can send us some flat pictures, and then we can really understand what it is that you're dealing with on the flat too. So thistleridge@hotmail.com. If you want to send us a picture in on the flat, we can take a look at that too, because that's a
but
whole different type of exercises that we have to do that. And you say when jumping, sometimes the distance is an issue. Patricia, you said you got to land and keep your
go
leg
forward.
on.
Exactly. And that's the same thing when you jump warm-up jumps, when you jump single jumps, you always have to land and go away from the jump. You know, land and canter forward like there's another jump ahead of you so that your horse doesn't get in that mode of jumping and kind of sucking back to organize. You know, I'm not saying, of course, you know, we're not saying be like a crazy.
Yeah, it shouldn't be running away. It should be just moving forward.
Just
And
not.
also, it depends on the the shows you're going to as well. If
Mhm.
you're at a regional show, maybe the distances are a little bit different than if you're going to national level horse show, that type of thing as well. So you have to know and practice those distances at home. Set up the jumps at the 73, 74 feet or
Mhm.
62 or whatever it is that you're
72
doing.
for a 5 stride, usually for a 3-foot fence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And practice exactly. I mean, to me, a lot of times when I'm judging local shows, if the fences are 2 foot or 2-3, I would almost rather see the horse add than go fast and get flat. But when you're jumping at a rated show and the lines are set on the distance, you've got to get those strides. I mean,
Yeah.
adding a stride brings your score down into the 60s. So,
Yeah. Look
and
beautiful. Lovely photo. Thank you so much,
thank
Addison, for
you.
sending it. Yeah, it's very nice. Duke is very cute. What do you call him at the horse show, by the way? I wonder what his show name is.
I don't know.
I
I
mean,
love
she's
that he has color too. I've never been opposed to horses that have a little bit of color and still perform well. I love that.
she's got a stock tie on, so it must be a, pretty,
It must be a classic or something,
yeah.
you know.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one.
Mhm.
This is Natalie. Natalie's
Yeah,
sending in a jumper picture.
right.
Just kind of squeaked in your leg in between those two jump standards.
Well, this girl, the first thing I notice about her is what a lovely, her leg has slipped back a tiny bit, but what a lovely relaxed ankle she has. You know, she has great depth in her heel, which we can't all do depending on your conformation, but you can definitely have your ankle relaxed and your heel lower than your toe. But she's really got that nice stretch through the lower leg and the ankle.
Everything looks good. So let's, yeah. Uh, Again, riding with the horse. There's nothing really major wrong with this rider. She's staying with the horse. She's not interfering. She's riding to her next jump. Love this, where she's looking up, looking straight ahead.
Mhm, mhm.
Beautiful. This is also beautiful. Love that.
This picture illustrates a little bit about what I was saying about carrying the elbow a little bit in front of the body. You
Right.
can just see how her whole arm position is a little more relaxed than the first girl's, just because of that fact. I think that you've always got on your flat and you're jumping, you've got to think about not clamping those upper arms to your side, but having your elbow slightly in front of your body. But yeah, she's just got a beautiful lower leg. And
Yeah.
she's
Lovely.
jumping a little bit ahead, but
But
only
if you
because
cover up, like if you take away that part,
mhm,
this part is spot on.
mhm,
I like you say, she's jumping a bit ahead. Like to have her shoulders back a little bit. For me, I'd
mhm,
like to have her shoulders back there, and then, like you say, her arms like this.
mhm. Just again because of the size of the jump, this is probably like a 2-6 jump, I think, and you don't need to make quite that much effort over it. If she was in a 3-6 medal class, this would be more,
Perfect. Yeah.
yeah. But she's got a beautiful leg, and again, lovely turnout, and the horse is jumping cute. I love his expression too. He's got his ears forward and he looks like he's concentrating on his job. And her expression, I love to see that concentration on a rider's face. So many times we see riders out there and they look like a deer that's been caught in the headlights. They're just kind of hanging on there. But when you see them focused and concentrating, that's quite lovely. Yeah.
It looks like she knows what her job is. It looks like she's going to her next fence and she's going to execute.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
for Natalie here, thank you very much, Natalie, for sending in this photo. Really appreciate it. And I would say to Natalie, try not to get too far ahead and think of the horse coming up to meet you rather than you going down to meet the horse.
Exactly.
And think of almost pushing yourself away from the horse's neck.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because I agree with you. She's jumping ahead. And what did we talk about last week? Jumping ahead. And then sometimes what happens is they come back too early.
Right, right. Because when the horse lands, the concussion kind of pushes them back a little. So she needs a little more space in between her chest and the horse's neck, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just bring your shoulders back a little bit more. She's
Yeah,
got lovely weight. Yeah. Like,
just
I
a
don't know.
little
Like,
tweak, but everything's in the right place. I mean, and her her turnout is just perfect. Her boots fit great. She's got that little bit of white cuff around her wrist. Um, just lovely. Good. Again, kudos to the trainer, for setting them up this way.
yeah, beautiful. Really nice. Thank you so much, Natalie. We really
Mhm,
appreciate you sending these in.
mhm.
Yeah, very nice. Awesome.
And I'm glad to see while this might be an no, the fences aren't high enough to be like a jumper type equitation class, but I love to see them when they're dressed in a jumper class. It's so nice, even though it's a jumper class, to see them going around in their coats, and it just makes everything look more fancy, I think, than it going around in a polo shirt.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. It's nice to see. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So if you do have questions, please put them in the comments and we'll get to them just as soon as we can. And thank you so much, Patricia. We have our guest host here today, Patricia Jellerson. She's visiting here with me today from Oklahoma.
Gosh, time is already up. Boy, it
No, it's
flew
on.
by.
No, no, no. We got
Oh, we
more
still have
time.
more
I was
time.
just
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, okay. How you
no,
scared me? I was
we
like,
got to go. We've got some courses now we're going to go over.
okay.
So we're going to talk about equitation and hunter course from the judge's perspective. So we've got a couple courses here. Let me just see the courses. Going to get the courses ready. So we have, this looks like, I think this is an equitation class, an equitation course.
Right. It's a metal course,
Metal.
which is an equitation course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I
so
can
it's
make,
got some of the classic parts of an equitation course, a rollback turn. Your first fence is on a long approach. Number
yeah,
one is a long approach where we get to see if the rider's eye is working well. It's number two. And
yeah.
then three. Again, after three, we have the rollback turn here to four. Yeah, you would have to take the inside turn from the in and out. And
Oh,
then
yeah,
you're
you wouldn't go over 8A. Pardon me.
yeah, no, you wouldn't jump 8A.
Backwards. Oh, no, yeah, exactly. And then 5.
5 to 6. And I think in the course that has the diagram of the distances, this is a 5 stride. That outside
Would you
line
want to
from
go over
5
that
to
one
6.
first?
No, this is good because that's the only related distance really besides in and
Oh,
out.
it's very difficult. It's kind of tiny there, isn't it? I'll make it
Yeah,
bigger.
that's good. That's very good right there. So in an equitation class, what we're really judging is the rider's horsemanship. How they get the horse around the course and if they can answer all the questions that the course asks of them and still keep a beautiful position while they're doing that. So number one here, you have a long approach. You want to make sure you keep your pace because in an equitation class, I like to see the rider carry a nice pace, a forward pace, not too slow, not like a hunter class or a pleasure class, but carrying a little bit of pace. A
Oh,
long approach.
even before you got to the first jump, though, Patricia, there is something else that you have to consider, and it's difficult to see here. Is that a suit? There's the in gate.
Yeah.
There's the in gate.
So
So
there's
where the judge is probably here, maybe, or
yeah,
here,
either side.
right? On
So
the
that first jump being so far, being pointed towards the end gate, you have options there. You can go around the whole ring.
yeah,
You can just go around 3.
yeah,
Oh, but you'd be going left out of the gate, yeah. Or you can just go around 3, or you can make the inside turn and go in front of 4. Yeah. So those are
yeah. Those are your options, and would those be judged? Because when you're doing your equitation classes, as soon as your horse's nose enters that ring, your judging starts. Not like the jumper.
right. No, that is so true. And the difference here is going to be what I like to say when people ask me, should I take the inside turn? Should I take the long approach in an equitation class? You've got to do what you and your horse do well.
Yeah,
Because if you make that inside turn and it goes badly, then that didn't help you at all.
yeah,
So if you think you can make that inside turn, that is going to get you the most points in an equitation class.
yeah.
That inside turn because you're conserving the area in the ring. You're showing us that you can make a tight turn and still keep the pace and find your distance. So that's
Showing
going to get
showing
you
the judge that you are ready, you're on the ball. You know the question is being asked: is the rider ready to jump the course? And if you can go in there and nail that first fence, yeah,
right. So, but if a rider were to go around 3 or in front of 3, I wouldn't count off. It's not a count off sort of thing. It's more of a comparison. Say all the fences were good and this course where the person took the wider turn and all the fences were good with the inside turn would have to win because it's harder. But
Yeah.
it's not like I'm going to see them come in and take that outside turn and start marking them down for it. I want to see how the course is riding and how the jumps go.
Okay, so even how about from in gate, you see a lot of people doing the sit trot.
You know, I have talked to so many judges about that, and I don't think we really appreciate that too much, the sitting trot, unless you have a gorgeous, gorgeous sitting trot.
Gorgeous,
Because
gorgeous, gorgeous.
yes,
You could lose the class by
exactly.
doing a crappy sitting trot on the approach to your first just entering the ring there, right?
So true. And it's the same thing as I said earlier, just about if you are posting, there's no deduction. There's no deduction. But if you do a sitting trot that the judge doesn't like, there's going to be a deduction. So in my mind, I would rather play it safe and just do a rising trot in the ring.
On the correct diagonal.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's we've just got into the ring.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first jump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so you're in the ring, you're going to your first jump. And for me, if once they've done this first jump, I want to see them looking up and looking for the turn and starting for their second jump.
Exactly. Because you don't have too far to the end of the ring here. So you don't want to go forward and go too far and then have to scramble around that turn. So you're right. You have to look early and think about turning as soon as you land.
Yeah.
And thinking is half the battle. You know, if you just jump that first jump and land looking left, your horse is going to feel that and prepare himself for that turn. It's not like you have to land and grab the left rein and pull him around really hard. It's just preparation and thinking ahead.
Yep. And then jump 2.
2. And then 3. And again, this is a little bit of an option to 3. You know, if you have a handy horse, you can take a little tighter turn. If not, then you take the longer route. Do what you and your horse do best.
So there's an option here to do this. Keeping in mind what's coming after number 3, right?
Right. It's a bending line to a 2 stride.
No, 3s. This is 4 here.
Oh, coming around to 4.
Yeah, so
right.
3 to 4.
Yes. Rollback turn, exactly.
Or I don't know if there's enough room. So
I think you would have to go around 1 and 7 to do that. If you're going to take the long way, yeah, I think you'd have to do that.
Or if you're on the ball.
Yes, that would be impressive. If you do that well, that would be very impressive.
Oh, I can do different colors. You're in trouble now.
Yeah, and that makes it a little easier that can be 2 kind of tight turns, because it'd be a lot harder if you had to make 3 and then like a long approach where you'd have to regain your pace. This way you can just stay on a nice balanced canter, make the turn to 3, make the turn to 4, and then let your horse kind of loosen up and regain his stride a little for the line. So it's a very rider-friendly course, I think.
So then we come to this related distance. So you, as you say, you've done these 2 kind of compressed jumps there, and then you have that related distance, and that related distance, we know it is 70. You've walked it, and you know it's 75 what was it?
2,
70.
depending on the height of the fence, it's going to
Yeah.
be 72 to 75. Depending
Yeah.
on if it's 3/6, it's going to be 74 and change.
So it's
If
5
it's 3 foot,
strides.
it's going to be more like 72. Right.
So after the kind of tight bit, you've got to make sure you can get those 5 strides in there.
Right. You have to reestablish your canter a little bit when you start coming down that line.
Yeah. So that's really important. So you do your 4, you have to move up to balance, make sure your horse is going forward, balance, connected, but still moving forward to get that 5 stride in there. So this is the test of your riding and the horse to see if you can sit up and control the horse to get the nice turns in there, and then to sit up, balance, and move forward without getting quicker, really, but lengthen out that stride and jump and move off and get the correct striding to get the correct length of stride to get the 5 strides in there.
Right. And this is the hallmark of an equitation course, that it asks those kinds of questions, that you will have some tighter turns. You'll probably have at least one related line. You'll have a long approach. You'll have a combination that maybe off a bending line or a tighter approach. And those are things that you're not asking your hunter to do, because in your hunter, we're focusing on style and
Steady
yeah,
rhythm and the
and the derby
technique.
courses turn out to be more challenging, and the handy hunter courses are made to be more challenging. But the equitation courses really, it's almost like tests within the course.
So what's the next test here? We've got this 2 related distance, 5 strides. And what's the next test? Is
7. This is, to me, is a little place to kind of catch your breath, and
7 is a whew,
yes,
a
yes.
gimme.
Yeah, it's like you're going past the gate, but you can make a nice wide turn there and kind of catch your breath.
Not that wide.
Yeah,
Right.
about like that. And that's what I would recommend, where you put the line the first time, going between 4 and the jump on the left. But it's difficult
Right here.
because when you come through there, your horse is going to have his eye on either one of those
Yeah.
jumps. And you have to make sure that you're focused and he's focused on that opening. If you don't think you can do that, then you want to take the wider turn around 3.
So it goes 7.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're on a younger horse or less experienced horse, maybe you would want to do that.
Right, or a horse that maybe is a little spooky, or
Or even like really keen and wants to jump.
right,
Yeah. Right. Now, I'm just wondering if there's an option to do that inside turn there.
I was looking at that. If you're really slick, you could, but I almost don't recommend that, because it's kind of
That's
like some derby courses where in the handy part of the derby course, I see some riders just making like jumper turns, and I don't want to see a turn that's going to distract. I don't want to see a turn where I'm going to kind of suck in my breath and go, "Ooh, that was a close one," or "Oh, I'm glad they made it." So I think, as a coach, I would say, if you want to take the tighter turn, go around 4. I don't think I would recommend that turn unless you're so slick that you can do it well.
Yeah, so I agree. If it's equitation, you want it to be smooth, and
Mhm.
anything that kind of jolts you or your horse or the whole overall flow, or makes the judge ask, "Why did she do that?"
Mhm.
Ask a question that's going to be a cause for concern. So just make it as smooth as you
Absolutely.
can. Always, at 7, when you're jumping this jump number 7 here, you should be looking up, looking forward to and around to wherever it is that you happen to be going next. And you notice when we're drawing these, we always going the previous jump. We always do like the 2 jumps together because it's hard just to do one jump and then the next jump. It's all kind of related and flowing together.
Right. And I think another thing to remember is, a lot of times when people go in a handy course or a equitation course, they feel like they have to do something special. They, in order to do well, they have to take that tight turn, or they have to really hand gallop to a jump, or enter with the sitting trot, like you said, to try to impress the judge. Depending on the show you're at, the odds are, me judging a class, they're not going to be, if there are 20 entries, there's probably going to be 5 or 6 of them that do the course really well, mistake-free. So if you can get that consistency to do a good course without any bells and whistles, you're going to get a good ribbon.
Yep.
So if your horse is 100% trustworthy and you can put in those bells and whistles, then do it. But don't feel like you have to in order to do well. What we're looking for, as you said, is just a nice, consistent, smoothly ridden course.
And this is equitation. So remember, it's you that's being judged.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for you to be judged, you have to get to every fence. Get to the fences. So get to the fences properly. So that means no runouts, no refusals, no knockdowns, those things.
Correctly. Because what we're talking about, actually the most important thing is, how did they meet these 9 fences?
How do they meet these fences? Exactly.
That's and then
right.
The rest that we're talking about is either a tiebreaker or just icing on the cake. Did they take the inside turn? Well, it won't really matter if they have a couple of bad jumps, whether they took the inside turn
So
or not.
If you make that inside turn and don't ride it properly and bury your horse into the fence and you get too close, then you're just going to be, no, sorry. That is worse than somebody who does take an even, steady rhythm pace, keep the same rhythm, and get to the jump properly.
Absolutely.
Exactly right. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, because now we are getting on for time. Okay, this is a hunter round.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you what before, can you see that? Yeah. Is that the first thing I noticed is that they have the distances marked in the hunters.
Mm-hmm.
The equitation, it's your responsibility to walk the course.
Right.
So this one has the distances marked out for you. So there's no guessing how many strides you should be put in there.
Mm-hmm. A lot of time, if there's a bending line in a course, they won't mark the strides because there can be a little bit of an option there. And a lot of times, if the stride is like 8 or 9 or 10 strides, that's not always marked, but usually always distances will be marked in the hunter class, except for those instances. And these jumps are 3/6, so these distances are set like on a 13-foot stride.
Okay, so these are 13-foot stride, yeah.
I think so. What's 70? I'm so bad at math.
72 is
12-foot stride. 13 times 5 is what, Laura?
I'm going to get my calculator out. One moment, please. 13 times 5. 13 times 6. 13 times 6 is 78. 74.
What's 13 times 5? Because this is a 5-stride line.
Is 60 something. Okay, let me just try 74.5 divided by 12 and a half foot stride.
Because for those of you who may not know how to walk a line, you're putting in an extra stride for takeoff and landing. So when this is set on a 12-foot stride, the 5 strides are set at 12 foot. And then what makes it a 74 or 72 is that extra stride on takeoff and landing to allow for takeoff and landing, which becomes steeper as the fences get higher. You know, they land deeper into the line and they take off a little sooner, which is why we have to add on to the distances.
So
So
they
this
have
is your typical. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You go first.
I was going to say this is it looks like it's the same jumps. You're just taking them in a different order. So the equitation class started on the jump that was on a diagonal, long diagonal. This is an intro jump, invitational on the quarter line is jump 1 towards the in gate. And again, judge is going to be here or here. And you are being judged as soon as you enter that ring. So you have all this time to come in the ring, even before you get to the first jump, you're being judged.
Absolutely. And
The
that's
horse
one
is being
approach.
judged. Sorry.
Pardon me?
The horse is being judged.
The horse is being judged. And that's one where you really have a couple of options. You can, if there's enough room to go around 3 and 4, you know, show off your horse. If a horse is a pretty mover, go in there in a lovely trot, you know, step back to the walk, show off your lovely canter. If you don't want to spend that much time, you can go in the gate, turn right, and then go across the diagonal to your fence.
Come in the gate and turn right.
Yeah. And go across the diagonal, like probably in between 6 and 2. Yeah. No, in between 6 and 2.
In between 6 and 2.
Yeah. And then come around. Yeah. So that's acceptable too. And you can even go to the end of the ring. It just depends on how much you want to show off your horse. And if you have a lovely horse and he's a good mover, give him all the time you can in the class.
Yep.
Let the judge enjoy him.
Exactly. So if your horse has a nice canter and a crummy trot, canter.
Right.
Right? Or if it's got a
That's
crummy,
a good point. Absolutely.
or a bad trot, but a nice walk, and you walk halfway and pick up the canter so the judge doesn't see it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we have fence number 1 here, which is kind of a friendly fence going towards the gate, plenty of room to kind of get your bearings and get started.
Yeah.
And then we have another single oxer, and you're going to definitely want to take wide turns in your hunter classes. Unless it's a handy hunter class, you don't want to cut those turns because you want the course to look just as smooth and pretty as possible, and show off your lovely horse and don't rush things.
Yeah, exactly. Take your time. Use the ends of the ring. Yeah, there's lots of room to use here. Go down and around. Nice long approach. Go into the corner. Rolling along towards the in gate. 6 and then beautiful.
Yeah. So just a very straightforward course. First round hunter. You know, I don't know if we have time, but we have a handy course too, right?
Yeah, we can do that one too.
Let's look at that one real quick.
Handy hunter course.
Right. And there's always a trot jump in the handy hunter course. So we have one going the other way. So in a handy hunter course, you'd want to go in the ring and canter directly to fence 1. If this was an equitation course and fence 1 was in the same place, you'd want to do that as well. Just because it's a handy class, you're showing off your horse's rideability And if it's an equitation class, you're showing off your horsemanship. So
Right.
can't
So
do that first fence.
so if you do go in, let's say you're riding a green horse or horse you're not sure of, and you do have make a circle, that will be reflection of how handy your horse is.
Right.
It needs a little bit more preparation to get up and get focused and do the job of getting to the first jump. Whereas a
Exactly.
horse that just comes in the in gate and goes right to the jump is going to be considered, I think, more handy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And again, it's not like they're going to come in and if they circle, I'm going to be marking them down, marking them down. You know, I'm going to look at the whole course and see how the course went. And if another horse has a nice course, it's going to, and canters directly to fence one, it's going to pin over the one that did the circle.
Right.
But again, if you don't think your horse can canter directly to fence one, then make that
Do a circle.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
I'm sorry.
sorry.
Go ahead.
2 and 3.
Right. And because it's a hunter class, you wouldn't want to make that turn any tighter than you have to. You want to stay nice and close to number 8.
Yes. And then if you think you're not able to do that, but then
Exactly.
again, this is your handy.
Right.
Three.
In your combination. And a thing that I have to say about combinations, you know, 2 strides, 3 strides, 1 strides in equitation and hunters, you know, a lot of people are kind of nervous about the combinations, but to me, it's a place to really show off your equitation or show off your horse. Because if you can get that first jump well, the second jump is usually a given. So you can relax and give your horse a nice big release and let them really use their back and front end over that second jump. And if it's an equitation class, you can really pay attention to your equitation and show off right in front of the judge a little bit. So don't be scared of those combinations. Use them to your advantage.
You know, I remember going to a horse show and somebody came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, there's a combination in there. There's a combination. What am I going to do? I've never ridden a combination." And I was thinking, it's just like a gymnastic. We
Mhm.
did gymnastics all last week. It's a gymnastic. So get the horse to the first one and think of it as a gymnastic.
Right, right.
Oh, right. Yeah. So that's the way I look at it. Some people do get bent out of shape of doing a combination in the ring. For me, it's like a gymnastic line. You go in there, you got 2 strides,
Mhm.
right?
Right. Yeah.
So 4, 5, and then they got this long diagonal run.
To 6. Yeah.
6, and then we have the 6, 7, which was kind of.
The trot fence. And again,
Oh, sorry,
going
that's a
from
trot fence, right?
yeah, going from 5 to 6, you've got your handy turn, which would go right around 8. You've got your little bit of a longer turn that would use more of the ring. Yeah. There's
And
always an option
what
usually
about
to
this
do
one?
what your horse is best. I think that's going to be, yeah, you could probably do that depending on how close those jumps are together.
Yeah.
And then your trot fence. And people are always asking me about trot fences. When should I trot? When should I trot?
Exactly what
Should I
I was
trot?
going to ask you. When should you trot?
When you turn the corner and start to get straight to your trot fence is the optimum time, yes, to break back to the trot. That's going to get you the most points. Now, if you're worried about your trot fence and you need to trot earlier, trot earlier. But technically, if you can show off a good trot fence coming out of the turn and breaking to the trot, the more difficult it is, the more points you get from the judge, the more brownie points, I like to say.
Right. So if you're going to make your turn, start to approach, and have a big fight with your horse to get that trot, then maybe you should pick the trot up along the rail before you even make your turn and do a balanced turn at the trot and maintain the trot. But if you have been practicing and you're comfortable with it, then approach your trot, approach your fence, make sure your horse is straight, do your downward transition, maintain the trot to the fence. It's to me, if you're going to have a big fight, it's going to be a big discussion between you and your horse whether or not the trot is going to happen, then pick it up sooner.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we have a bending line from 7 to 8. That's not a related distance, really. And people are always asking me, too, on bending lines like that, do I get a lead change? And to me, it's a little bit optional. This line is a little bit more of it's kind of in between a broken and a bending line. So you could get a lead change in there if it's done nicely, or you could hold your horse on the lead, on the left lead. And if that's done nicely, I'm really not going to count off too much for either one.
Right.
But if your horse is going to canter the first leg and then the second leg, he's going to be on the same lead and get this kind of awkward head up in the air, like, I want to change, I want to change, I want to change. And just do a change.
Yeah. Exactly. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we got some really good tips there.
I think so, yeah. And the basic difference, again, is you still want a well-ridden, smooth, consistent course in your equitation or your handy hunter and your hunter. Just the focus is a little different. The focus is more on the rider in the equitation and how they handle the course and how they ride the different tests in the course. And then in the hunters, we're just looking at your horse's style, pretty much, your horse's style and manner of going. And manners are important. You know, I've had many horses that jump beautiful and get 8 lovely fences, but if their ears are pinned the entire time or their tail is swishing, they're
or
going to
nappy at the in gate or kicking out. I mean, if the horse plays a little bit, we forgive a horse for that, but it's their performance has to be there. The performance is the first thing, though. They have to get to all the jumps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another thing that's I don't like, kind of when you see a horse, make sure your tack is correct and adjusted correctly, because when a horse is going around the ring and his mouth is gapping open and he's fussing with the bit the whole time, that's not going to get you a good score.
That's going to tell, if it's equitation, that tells you a little bit about the rider too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Patricia, I think we have gone over our time here. And do you have any final words for people today?
I don't. Just, again, be mindful in your riding and practice what you want to do at shows at home. You can't practice different things at home and then go to a show and expect to do it well. So practice at home what you need to do at your shows.
Very good. Good advice. Thank you so much, Patricia. Appreciate it. Now,
bye, everybody. Send in questions if you have them.
Now go use this stuff and go hug your horse. See ya. Bye.
Bye.